And watch the road. Since we're turning off the paved road, we'll have a dirt road to go for a long ways. A young sage chicken hurries across the road and disappears up into the bush at about the boar's tusk. This was a navigational thing for wagon trains and explorers. They could always spot this unique-looking boar's tusk rock. We see an antelope. This means we're in Wyoming. We always see antelope in Wyoming. Even a nice-sized buck antelope shows himself, and he better be careful showing those horns, because antelope season is open now for this unit. The buck antelope always have that black cheek patch. That's one way you can tell them from the does. Plus, the does don't have nearly as developed a set of horns as the bucks. After stirring up a cloud of dust for many a mile, we reach the White Mountain Petroglyph site. And what a place! This place was supposed to have been inhabited from 5,000 years ago on up to more modern times. But it is a one of a kind, just an exceptional site that one should never miss. It is mostly symbols and things that are important to their culture carved in the sandstone bluffs. The images carved into the rocks are all about their world, the things they would see on a day-to-day basis and things that were important to them. There were lots of tracks, and they were bear tracks, and not plain black bear, but grizzly bear. And then at the top of this scene, you'll see a woolly mammoth displayed on the rock. So this dates his site as to being extremely old and very important. You can see his tusks, his trunk, all four legs, and his ear back against him. And there are two of these woolly mammoths at this site, plus lots of grizzly bear tracks. There were plenty of humanoid petroglyphs scraped deeply into the rock, all looking like they're in some sort of a ceremonial position. And then down below, another woolly mammoth stands on the sandstone bluff. We can see how important some of these things were, like grizzly bear tracks were apparently very important, and also their dancing ceremonies must have been very important to them. And last but not least, the American bison. And we see a big spear where someone might be using an atlatl type spear. And the bison, the American bison, right there, a little bit deformed, but still you can make out that bison form on it, and some little holes in the rock, and I'm not certain what those were. And then I would have never guessed it, but there are all sorts of human handprints in the sandstone that have been scratched in. And these are an archaeologist said that this was a birthing area, and these handprints were done by women, and it's always the right hand. And they did these when they were in the pain of labor. They'd scratch on the sandstone just to get the focus off the pain of labor. So there's some that are a few inches deep right here on the end of the rock. And what a neat way of keeping track of things. And these handprints are a little bit too small for my hand, but my wife's hand fits them perfectly. So they must have been done by women. After the handprints, then we start wondering, where do these people live? And we spot a cave high up on the cliffs. And so I was wondering, how did they get to it? And then I look farther and I see they've carved hand and footholds in the sandstone to get up there. And nest high up on the cliffs. I think that may have been a raven's nest, and more grizzly bear tracks. They're all along this gracing the sandstone with these wonderful grizzly bear tracks.
Track there, and there's some more design tally marks and designs.
The zigzag lines are thought to be their symbol of water. I don't know where it was, but it was someplace, and just a seep spring would be enough for a village site like this.
And a stick figure in sort of a ceremonial position. More footprints. And some kind of a big animal right here with a hole right in him. I see that in several of them here. That must mean that someone shot him there. And there's a cave up above, and we can see where they've cut footholds and handholds in the sandstone where they could more easily get up to the cave, where apparently they lived some of the time. There's even smoke stains on the wall. More little handholds and footholds. And you can climb right up in there. Take a look in and see what's in it there. Looks like a pretty nice little cave.
As I look around farther, I see more and more petroglyphs. Between the cave and the birthing area, there are many petroglyphs, and there was a cave that was filled up by modern wood rats, probably. I go beyond the birthing area and I see a whole bunch more petroglyphs. There's a fertility symbol, and it looks as though a teepee next to it, and more bison carved deeply into the sandstone. That they must have been a very important resource for these people to hunt the bison. They could use the skins for a variety of things, the bones, and the excellent meat. More humanoids carved deeply into the sandstone as I walk around this sandstone bluff. A big spear and another humanoid. The spear must have been one of the things they used, and it may have been the atlatl. I'm not sure about that. And here's an animal I can't figure out what it is. He's shaped kind of like most every animal, except he's got a long tail and many toes on his feet. And the only thing I can think of is this is just sort of a poor picture of a mountain lion. I can't think of anything else that would have all those toes and the long tail. But whatever it is, it's in this rock till the end of time, I guess. Above, we see all kinds of little caves, and then a bigger cave right down on the bottom. And this cave may have been enhanced by man, and I see all sorts of different figures carved into the sandstone around the cave. They're all a bunch of different animals. This one is a rider riding a horse, carrying a big spear. Then the cave entrance itself is covered in smoke and well decorated with things that probably just plain made them feel good. There's even a horse carved in to the entrance to the cave, and lots of other objects carved deeply into it. A lot of humanoids in this entrance to the cave. Then, in the smoke stain of the ceiling, I see just an excellent, unmistakable image of a horse. So this sort of dates this cave. I mean, the petroglyph itself. It was probably one of the later ones after horses had been reintroduced into the Americas. So I'm going to go in this little cave and take a look. It looks like it would just been an excellent spot to be, and it looks as if they'd even carved a little shelf out for setting or maybe to sleep on. And so this cave would handle a few people, not a whole bunch, but a few. The only thing, it might be a bit smoky in there, but at least it would be warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It just felt really good to be in there. But I'm not sure about the smoke that would be on the ceiling. When this place was inhabited, it may have been a pretty smoky place, but you can see out across the prairie from there. And again, I'll take a look at that horse and more humanoids and just plain design. I think they designed the humanoids to look really nice. There are a lot of animals and strange shapes carved into the sandstone. I only wish that I could accurately interpretate these, but all any of us can do now is just make a good guess as to what they were for.
This cave has all sorts of petroglyphs in it. Well, they've done a lot of petroglyphs in this cave. Looks to be a couple fertility symbols here. And another up there. Another fertility symbol. And tally marks and all sorts of other neat petroglyphs. And right here is a woman doing a dance. A woman doing a dance right in front of me. This would have been a decent cave to have lived in. More large animals right here. I think this may have been an elk. It looks as if there are big antlers up above it. Another big elk with the antlers up above it. And all sorts of other animals on down below it. I'd say for certain this is a bear. Must be a pregnant bear with a baby inside it. I'm not sure what that one is. More elk. And lots more animals all the way around this rock. That nest was at one time an eagle's nest, and it looks like it's been built on considerably over the years since then. But someone shot the eagle, and there were still some eggs in there, so they got a rock climber to go up there and get the eggs out, and they hatched the eggs in an incubator, I guess. Another nest right above the cave entrance. There's some buffalo. Looks like this may have been a stone they ground on and tenderized stuff on.
As we move on toward our next destination, we see a railroad bed. At one time, there was a lot of coal came nearly to the surface out here, and so they built a railroad bed, and there's some big mines out here where they mined it right out in the desert, and they had to have some way to haul it out, and at that time there weren't trucks good enough, so they built a railroad in. We decided to go up a narrow little road that had been dozed out of the side of a mountain. This takes us up to the Tri-Territorial Monuments, but it had snowed and the snow was melting and the road was real mucky. And I was trying to get around the final snowbank up there, and my front wheel slid, and we almost went over the edge, for it was a really steep bank for about a quarter of a mile below. Marge just screamed her head off, but I threw it in reverse and managed to back out of it. And we just started backing down, and here came two old buzzards up there, and they were kind of a nuisance. They pulled right up behind us and stopped, and they had to get out and look and discuss it and discuss it. And they got in several heated arguments up there right right behind us while we had to sit and wait, and I was anxious to get going. They decided they had to back out too, and so they weren't good at the one that was driving wasn't good at backing, and so it was a mess. We all got plenty of mud on our tires and slid around a bit, and the two old buzzards, they just moved down, and they were in and out of the ditch and every place they shouldn't be. They need to take some backing up lessons, I believe. So we'll back on down as soon as those buzzards get their argument over and get out of the way.
Windy right now.
Those two old buzzards were somebody that you wouldn't want to encounter very often on a road like this. They just looked and looked and talked and looked and wondered, and anyway, it must have delayed us at least a half hour having those two old buzzards there, and I was anxious to get out of there, and so was Marge. I got down to where there wasn't snow on the road that would be melting and make it all muddy, and I was able to wiggle around, but the two old boys weren't able to do it. One of them wanted to do it and the other didn't, and so that was another big argument for them. I don't know how they're going to be able to stand each other, but one of them's walking trying to give instruction to the other, and the one that's driving just can't seem to get the hang of it. He can't seem to keep his vehicle straight, and so he's all over the road. It's just a lucky thing they didn't slide down over the bank, but I can see their tracks where they really were getting in a place where they shouldn't have.
He's trying to get turned around too, and we have to do the same. So I'm just trying to see how he was going to make it. I'll try to figure it out. This guy's going to try to turn around in that corner right there. This is kind of scary. Maybe they're going to back up some more. Cut it tight. I'll check your back.
Okay, now watch the front.
I will. I'll watch the front. Cut it tight. Cut it real tight. You got it made, I think. Cut it tight. Back up once more. That's good. Now go forward and cut it tight. You made it. Go ahead. Go straight. That's what he tried to get the other guy to do.
Now,
Back up once more. That's good.
now watch my...
I will. You've got plenty of room in the front. You made it. You did it. You did it. They had to drive down farther than we did to get turned around. But at least they made it.
The old buzzards finally got turned around and headed down the road. I hope I never run into them again in a tight place. Although the argument was a little bit entertaining, I can find other things to entertain myself at. We went on to an area where there were all sorts of marine fossils. These rocks ahead of us are just totally made of solid marine fossils, snails and clams and other invertebrates all through these rocks. And these are just some of the small ones. There's some up there that are like 6 by 8 foot, and there was a row of them along the top, and then as the mountain eroded away, they crumbled down and slid down the mountain. So you see them just all over the place, just pure fossils. From there, we move on and see a nice little bunch of wild horses switching their long tails. In this area, we see a few pure white horses. I was thinking that may not work too good being white. They could go snowblind in the winter, but I guess maybe they do okay. As we continue on our way, we notice another little band of wild horses ahead of us. There's an old white mare with her little foal taking a nap right in the edge of the road. That must be her pride and joy. And pretty soon they really didn't seem to have much fear of us. They just got up and very slowly moved up on the bank above the road, and then pretty soon when we got closer, they moved up on top of the hill. And that white mare sure does show up nice. She was sure a pretty white one, along with several other real pretty ones. They have much fear of us at all. They just stand and look and wave their very long, shabby tails as we approach them and go on past them down the road. They just barely move and get up on the hill. The little foal finally got up from where he was resting and joined the rest of the group. Usually in a herd like this, the stallion will bring up the rear.